Welcome to the Programmatic Digest podcast, a weekly roundup of top programmatic news with fellow programmatic leaders. I'm your host, Helene Parker, your very own programmatic Sensei. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get into today's conversation, subscribe, like, and share. Leave us a comment. If you need any more details, visit our website, programmaticdigest.com, programmaticdigest.com, where you'll be prompted for our new weekly or monthly newsletter. It only alerts you when there's a new episode live. So thank you so much for all your support and love, and remember to be curious. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the Sensei's Corner, Suzanne. How are you, my friend? It's been a while.
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited to chat with you. This is the 50th podcast episode. Yay!
This is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been great watching you evolve and grow your podcast. It's been awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I was thinking about doing a fun 50th something, and then I was like, I'm going to do something eventually and just invite the community that's been supporting of me and along the way. But then I was like, who's the one person I really want to talk to right now and celebrate with? And I thought of you. So thank you so much for the quick turnaround.
Awesome. Thank you.
And for those who don't know you yet, how about you just give us a quick introduction about yourself, your experience, and how amazing you are?
I don't know about amazing, but I'm trudging through with everyone else, right?
Yeah.
My name is Susan Wallace. I have been in the programmatic space for the last probably 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started off in traditional and developed myself throughout the digital landscape over 23 years of marketing and advertising. I've got I'm now skewing more towards agency side than I am client side, but I've had both sides of the coin to view and experience from a marketing and advertising perspective. And I will actually be starting at PhD on the 23rd, which is Monday, which is exciting, as the Senior Director of Media Operations. So I'm super excited about that particular role. I'll be rejoining the OMG family, which is where I've spent the majority of my career. In between that, I've been able to do some consulting work and work at other companies, holding companies. And that's really been eye-opening and a very positive learning experience for me in the perspective of the different views. I've only had kind of one view of the programmatic landscape. And so being able to see it from different perspectives has been really helpful for me. I also have just started teaching marketing classes at Johnson C. Smith University. So now I'm a professor and I'm trying to get used to being called Professor Wallace.
That's how we will refer to you on this call then, Professor Wallace.
Please don't.
It sounds really official
I'll turn
too,
the
Professor
color
Wallace.
of my shirt. I'll become pink.
That is so cool. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. Congratulations on your success. We're really excited about your teaching and then you're joining the OMD family again, which I think is a good segue into what we're going to talk about today, right? I wanted to talk to somebody that has experience like yourself working with agencies and then with brands about programmatic in-house, right? I was on the LinkedIn the other day and somebody shared this report that we'll make sure to add in the show notes. It's the 2020 International Report on Programmatic In-housing. And it's like a 28-page report, and it's telling us why agencies are going in-house, how is affecting, brands are going programmatic in-house, and how is affecting agency, and why, and the how, all of the jazz. So we're going to cover some of those really important key points today. But I wanted to chat to you because I saw it on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, is this, I know it's been a thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, it's still a thing, that brands are taking things in-house. And part of in the report, we have to be honest, programmatic is important, first of all, right? Is, according to this report, 85% of the digital ad spend is programmatic. So, and it said that, if I'm reading correctly here, it says that more than a fifth, 21% of organizations have completely moved this function of programmatic in-house, and almost half, which represent 48%, have partially moved programmatic buying in-house. So tell us about your experience when you had to really walk a client through the positive of in-housing versus not in-housing, or just like your opinion, like your professional opinion, not so much of, hey, what to tell a client, but based on your experience, how have you handled if the situation came up?
I think we run across them in a couple different situations where we're knowing that the client is wanting to move programmatic in-house. Mm-hmm. When you start talking about data and first-party data versus second and third-party data, the client owns that first-party data, and they have to be able to utilize it a little bit better than maybe an agency can leverage it. So that's part of the drive. That's what initially kind of gets the wheels turning of we need to probably in-house this, is the data conversation. But I think ultimately, they're looking for the efficiencies. They're looking to find a way for them to control their data, for them to control their performance, for them to have that control. And it makes sense for them. I think the problem is, and what we as agencies become frustrated with, is a lot of the things that they want to answer are things that we've been asking them and they haven't been able to provide for us. So that's an interesting perspective because we're not a part of the company. So we don't necessarily get access to the full spectrum, even though we've been asking for it. I think another element is just the talent, the actual expertise, the nuances of technology make bringing that in-house much more challenging than they anticipate. I think they think of a DSP, and if they can just access that DSP and learn how to use it, everything kind of falls into place. But it's really a much more holistic conversation. I think where agencies can find their sweet spot in a brand looking to in-house is to still serve as a partner, a consultant, someone to help them navigate, someone to help them figure out what's the best partner, how many partners should they be using, what makes this partner better than the other or not, and how does it all kind of connect. I think from a consulting standpoint, I think a lot of agencies will likely be consulting, or the realistic aspect is that some of the clients won't be able to manage all of the different partners. And so they'll need the agency to still help them manage some of the other aspects and still have the level of trust and partnership that they currently have with their agency. And I think those are areas where agencies have done well with a client that is in housing. They still maintain the relationship. They still are consultants. They're still helping them through that process. They're helping them navigate. I think what agencies need to figure out is how do you still get compensated for that? That's still a challenge, right? Because it's not based on media spend anymore. It's now based on service and expertise. And I think that is an area that if they can start to master that, it'll shift and agencies can still have those relationships with those brands and with new technology. The adaptability of a client and versus an agency is not the same. An agency is going to adapt a lot faster because you have multiple clients that are testing. Whereas on a brand side, you have one brand. It's not to say that they're not agile and able to do it. It's harder because they're not just doing advertising. They're managing everything. They have much more breadth of what they're doing. And so as an advertiser, at an agency perspective, I recognize they're not just doing advertising. They're doing everything. So I think that's a loaded answer to say there's still room for an agency to work with the brand. It's just going to shift how you would normally work with them into something a little different.
Welcome to the Programmatic Meetup. Yay! I'm so excited about this community that we're building. It's going to be a safe space for media buyers, ad ops, programmatic ninjas, data analysts like you and I, just to come up and talk about our day-to-day challenges in our direct roles, some of our wins, and some of our opportunities to grow, to educate ourselves. Some of the topic of discussion includes anything from optimization, best practice, QA, templating, workflow, operational workflow. I'll have guest appearance. I'm bringing my network to you, and the best part of it is that you'll have one-on-one questions with them. I'm so excited about this, yo. I'm so hyped. So what to expect in your membership, right? You can expect 1 hour call every first and third Wednesday of the month. Access to all the recordings for the paid members within our community. Discounted one-on-one consulting with me and some of the guests that will be gracing us with their presence and their appearance, customizable trainings, but most importantly, your best friends, y'all. I'm very excited about this opportunity. This is a community for you and I. This is a community for us to just join forces and really share, really just being able to be together in a community. There's so much growth when you're in a community, when you're able to relate to people, or somebody understands where you're coming from different perspective, right? So join today. Programmatic Meetup community is open to you. Bring your friends. Tell your friends to bring his friends, to bring her friends and his friends to meet up with us. We respect you. We love you. We appreciate you. We're ready to support you. So make sure you join the Programmatic Meetup. Thank you. I'm so excited about this. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very excited about it. So thank you so much and see you soon.
Yeah, that brings a good point. And I want to highlight this graph in the report about managing programmatic media. And it says the intent to bring programmatic media in-house from a global view. And that includes US, European country, but it excludes the UK. Mm-hmm. And then some of the Latin American, this data are including. And it says 21% is completely moved in-house and plan to continue. 48% partially moved in-house and plan to continue to partially move it in-house, or plan to continue to move a total in-house, I'm not sure. 16% tried to bring in-house, but outsourced to partners, and 15% no plans to bring in-house. So I've worked in different situations where for that agency, the brands needed a trading agency partner. So mm-hmm. It would be solely managing, doing the buys, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's the DSP, I'm just spending your money in that DSP and implementing optimization for the results we discussed. And I've also had the full spectrum of things, right? Where the brand needed the agency I was working for to handle the full aspect of things, strategy, the RFP process, the vendor relationship. Like literally, they will forward the emails like, this person reached out to me. Is that something we want to consider? TikTok reached out to me. Is that something we want to consider? Mm-hmm. So I do agree with you. I do think that even if brand continues to bring things programmatically in-house, there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity for agencies. And just like what you said, I think they just need to recalibrate how they're going to get paid, get this money, but also still bring a high enough value to that brand or to that client. And so mm-hmm. Do you agree? Because as you scroll down the 20-something page, mm-hmm. It talks about why some of those brands are considering bringing in-house or have considered or already bringing in-house. And some of this include transparency. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about transparency. What do you think? Why do you think transparency is the biggest thing apparently for brands? Like, where's the miscommunication between the agency and for a brand to say, I'm bringing things in-house because I want to have control. I want to have more transparency over my media buying. Like, why do you think this is happening?
I think a lot of it has, I think it's less of an issue today as mm-hmm. it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I feel like mm-hmm. programmatic and transparency and programmatic being the black box that no one really understands how it works, isn't the same today as it was a few years ago. Yeah. Agencies are offering transparency, and they are getting the client to understand the power of their data mm-hmm. and how it works and some of the optimization strategies. I think from a marketing perspective, when you get into that level, that transparency comes with technology or a tech aspect that most marketers aren't necessarily ready for. The merger of data analytics and marketing, like you either have kind of one or the other, that perfect blend is the programmatic space. So I think it is the conversations around being more transparent that makes the client want more transparency. And I think the agency has introduced it because some of the partners mm-hmm. have, not all, but some of them have tried to discredit the agency in order to get that business and try to expose some of the things that agencies were doing that maybe didn't offer the same transparency. So when agencies offered it up, we offered it in such a way that offered the strategy, that offered us a thought process to say, this is why we're doing this. It wasn't that we were, trying to get away with something. It's because there's some technical aspects here. There's some things that the average advertiser or brand person may not necessarily click right off the bat. You have to be very data centric. You have to have a level of love for technology and the tech aspect of this in order to have some strong conversations there. So I think the conversation has changed. The transparency is not such a mystery anymore. And I think because agencies have had those conversations, it's made them want more transparency. So in essence, we kind of kicked ourselves. But at the same time, we're able to have those conversations on a much more strategic level, which is what's causing the hybrid.
Yeah.
It's not 100%. We're just going to take it in-house because there's so many aspects that go along with it. It's a mix. It's to say, okay, how do I get that control but still maintain this expertise? These people have been in the agencies. They're inundated with it. They eat, drink, and sleep it all day long. And from a brand perspective, you're not in it that same kind of way. You're like, okay, let me read an article. Let me attend the conference. You're getting snippets. And it makes sense. I don't think the expectation is that someone on the client side will be immersed in it. But those that are very curious about the data and want to get into the weeds are the ones that are pulling more in-house or being very smart on how they're developing the hybrid model. Or not going into it at all because they realize that's not going to work for us.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point because it's a lot of work. And this is a shameless plug. This is a great moment for this actually, but we're working on building like a community, like a paid membership community, a lower spectrum, of course, because I'm targeting individuals like buyers. I've been in a situation where working even for an agencies with other programmatic buyers where there's absolutely no communication, not really that teamwork mindset. And I've also worked with startup agencies where I was the only programmatic buyer or programmatic senior buyer, whatever you want to go. And there was no support around outside of the DSP, which the DSP, and I won't name them, but the DSP in that we were using provided no support at all, for many reasons, not, and we had to spend. So, some spend, some DSP, you have to have a certain threshold to have your own rep, which I think is ridiculous, but we were beyond that threshold, basically, I'm trying to say. So I've had individual reach out to me asking for a course, asking for like, listen, I know you're training agency departments, but, we need support as well. So that community is going to provide that support. It's going to be a close community. I actually asked Instagram to help me name it, and you hear it here first. It might be named Reach and Frequency Community. I don't know yet. I just like the tone to it. I think it's like a good. If you're a buyer, you'll shake your head like, yeah, okay, I see what you did there. But basically, a lot of those individuals that reached out to me are moving from agency to brands, and they are supposed to be the programmatic expert within the brand. And then they realize that I work for this agency and I've managed X amount of million of dollars a year, a quarter, whatever you name it, right? But I only set up, optimize, report. Even with reporting was very limited, right? Because you have a data analytics department in agencies. So now they're in a situation where they have to participate in a strategy, which is pre-sales. They have to maybe be more client-facing. Traditional a buyer is not as client-facing as they should be or they want to be. And now they're just like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to do, right? Because that brand is bringing one expert in-house. And depending on your media budget or depending on your media strategy or media channel strategy, it's a lot. It's a lot to handle because you still want to be able to make sure you allocated the right budget per channels, but also is this site list working or is, I don't know, what are the optimization that is this audience segment working? But at the same time, we're looking at the overall pictures. And so I think that's where the agency opportunities lays. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I understand why brands are bringing in-house because I've worked for some agencies, but at the same time, I've worked with agencies that are they know their stuff and they have their heart into their missions, and you can feel it. Every single members of that team knows what they're doing, and they're here to help the clients, and they're as transparent as they can, because sometimes when a CPM goes from $2 to $17, you don't always need to know. It's just happen, ebbs and flow. At the end of the week, we'll let you know if it's still persistent, right? But once in a while it is. But of course, this is a specific example about transparency, of course. There's a lot more happening when it comes to that topic. But Professor Wallace, I think that was a great conversation, a great starting point. And I do want to maybe ask you for some parting ways before we go into the closing segments. Like if there's an agency that, 2 or 3 of the brands have been working, especially in 2020, have just separated in terms of like, we used to run their media, now they're having somebody else in-house run the media, or there's a new guy in town on the brand side that's trying to regulate things on the agency side and the partner side. So what would be like a quick 1 to 2 things they should always remember and do in this situation?
I think the data has to come first. I think when you're focused on what's driving the majority of these conversations is coming from the data. It's one thing to have the data. It's another thing that what do you do with it? The one thing was let's start tracking, which is where life without a cookie is coming from. But we have to track the data, and then you got to figure out what to do with it. And that builds into the strategy. It is a full circle component. Marketing is not pieces. It is a full puzzle. And I think being able to look at it from a full puzzle, holistic perspective, from a strategic as well as executional standpoint, one feeds into the other. So I think being able to understand the full workflow is key. And understanding that the data is what's driving the message, the data is what's driving the placement, the data is what's driving the strategy. The core, the nucleus is the data. So if you are not data focused and you're focused on a CPM, whether it's going up or down, but your performance is still doing well, you're missing something. So I think those are the things that I would recommend brands and agencies continue to focus on. And like you said, there's some agencies that are awesome. And those are the ones that are going to continue the relationship. And they're the ones that are going to be those added partnerships, and they just need to figure out how to monetize that. And then there are other agencies where they're executional, they're replaceable. And so you bring that in-house. I think one of the other aspects is your talent. Your talent. When you're at an agency, you're constantly inundated with information, and you're kind of forcing yourself to learn something new and grow. When you're on the client side, that push isn't as strong. You have to pull, you have to go out, you have to seek it, you have to be aggressive about learning those trends and trying to implement them into the strategy. So that's a very strong difference between agency and client that will start to surface in their talent. But it's very appealing for someone from an agency to go to the client side and have a little bit more of a work-life balance because agency life is crazy. But if you like it and that's what you're drawn to, it can be very interesting making that adjustment. So it's really about what you focus on. I think it all comes back to the data for me because it drives so much of the conversation and the decisions. So I would say stay focused on that. It's changing all the time. So you have to find ways to be to continue the education, to continue the way that you're learning and thinking about things and staying upon the trends, because that's also where agencies are very strong and can still add value to different clients.
Oh man, that's a great way to end this podcast because there's a lot going on. And like you said, agency life is crazy. It's crazy. And they pride themselves by this craziness, which I don't think it's a different level for me now. I'm not about that life anymore. But I love to work with them.
I don't know.
Right? I love to work with them. I work with all of my clients right now, our agencies, and I help them train their staffs on different levels, right?
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us on our 50th episode. Before we hang up though, what is the 3 things you do to practice self-care daily?
The 3 things I do to practice self-care. I work out.
Okay.
I have definitely adapted that as self-care. Instead of viewing it as a chore and something to do, it's self-care.
Good.
Equally, I try to do something that I enjoy, whatever that is. If it's a cocktail, if it's just a good dinner, if it's my favorite show, I try to indulge myself in something that I enjoy. And then it's something just to take care of myself. Spending time with family and conversations. The pandemic has taught me that I need that, and I enjoy that conversation with friends and family. And being able to appreciate the little things of putting together a puzzle or just preparing a meal or going groceries, like really simple things, a walk in the park type of thing with family and friends. So as much as I need my alone time, I've recognized that I need time with others as well. And that's a huge component in keeping me on the right track as I deal with the craziness of every day.
Oh, man, that's a great way to end this podcast. Families, doing something you love, and also, physically taking care of yourself, which and it's working out. It's that simple as working out. It's that simple as walking a mile a day. And a mile is not a lot. It's like 3 blocks on a mile. Like literally, it's literally 3 blocks. Well, it's not a lot to me. It used to be though.
It can be a lot.
It used to be a lot, but like I will take the baby in the stroller. My husband will have the dog, and we'll walk. And then honestly, you don't realize you're walking a mile. You're like, oh, you're up 1 mile. Let's go home now. We made it.
Exactly.
For those who don't have the dog or those who don't have the baby stroller, like listen to a good podcast. This podcast is a good one to listen to.
Absolutely.
In 30 minutes, you can do a mile.
Something that brings you joy. Something that helps you learn.
Yeah, something that brings you joy. I have a lot of friends and they're like, listen, I cannot listen to professional podcasts. All I listen to is murder mystery podcast. And I'm like, good for you. I can't do it, but good for you. It just gives me anxiety.
Stimulated in different ways, for sure.
Right. But thank you again for coming. We're super excited about your success and your future. Professor Wallace will be back to let us know how her classes have been going. If you need any information from Suzanne, we'll make sure to put in our show notes. And thank you so much for joining. This was great.
Awesome. Congratulations. Happy 50 episodes.
Yay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your love and support. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you have any questions, feedback, or just simply want to say hi, email us at info@programmaticdigest.com. You can also visit the website, programmaticdigest.com, where we're always looking for guest hosts. We're also looking for sponsors. So hit us up if you're interested.